Yes, guys, what's happening? And it's finished Chelsea 3, Leicester 0 at the King Power in the early kickoff on the Saturday afternoon. And I mean, what a performance from the boys, George. 6 points clear now, obviously waiting for the other fixtures to take place. We can sit back, put our feet up and probably enjoy one of our best performances of the season, particularly in that first half. And wait to see what everyone else does now. I mean, how impressed were you with the performance overall, just briefly, before we go into a bit more detail? I mean, I don't think you were expecting that, were you, considering you predicted the draw before the game kicked off?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a really tight game. I've said to you before, I thought this match was actually going to be tougher than Manchester United at home. I know they've been a bit patchy of late, Leicester, with their form, conceding goals, but you'd expect after the international break, you hit the reset button, ready to go again. And I thought that lingering draw that when we left the international break may just hang over us slightly. We also haven't done very well on the early kickoffs in recent games. So I was expecting quite a tight affair, but my goodness, we were just immense. I mean, I can't commend the Chelsea squad enough in this game. I mean, one of the best, certainly the first half's one of the best performances I've seen from Chelsea away from home, in not an easy game on the face of it, but we made it look so easy, didn't we? And we really, for the first time, really kind of made a statement of intent about winning this title, because not only have we gone 6 points clear, but the manner in which we controlled that game was just amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's another big marker laid down ahead of a big week for the club, obviously, with Juventus coming up on Tuesday night, and then obviously the big one against Manchester United next weekend at the Bridge. So, I mean, no better way to kick off a big week than with a dominant performance. International break, the 12:30 kickoff afterwards is always, particularly in a big away game as well, it can always be quite tricky, but, didn't show any ill effects of anything. And we come through it really strong. And I think, we are genuine contenders this season. I think I've seen enough now from the side in all sorts of different games that we've got enough about us to go very far into this. And you can see why, we're quite a lot of people's favourites. Might not play the best football per se. I think probably Manchester City and Liverpool probably play better on the eye. But in terms of efficiency and a team unit, I don't think there's a better side than us in the Premier League. And there's probably very, very few better than us in Europe. But mate, let's get into it then. Obviously, starting lineup, front three kind of picked itself, I felt. Hakim Ziyech not in great form, and Christian Pulisic obviously still working his way back. So good to see Mason Mount back in there. It's pretty standard, that front three, really, isn't it, considering what was available?
Yeah, no surprises. Again, Lukaku's just short of coming back. So we'd expect him to feature some part of next week's games, whether that be Manchester United or Juventus. But yeah, not surprised with the front three at all. Wasn't actually too surprised with the lineup in general. I know he touched on in the pre-match a bit, about the lateness of certain players coming back from international duty, and that took back Timo Werner. Maybe a little bit surprised Thiago Silva was in, considering that he said he came back Thursday or Friday night, I think. So, but other than that, no, it was pretty what I expected.
And I think I was perhaps slightly surprised to see Trevor Chalobah there instead of Christensen, but I think he's probably gone with that because Chalobah's quite pacey to kind of combat Jamie Vardy's kind of pace and threat in behind. Yeah. So that's probably the thinking, I reckon, behind that. And then obviously the fullbacks pick themselves, I'd say the two best fullbacks as a pairing in the country at the moment, in James and Chilwell. And then I would have loved to have seen Ruben Loftus-Cheek start this game, but I can see why he went with Jorginho and Kante in the middle there. Two more experienced players, slightly more defensive-minded in a game that was supposed to be quite tough, actually. Away from home against the Leicester side, physical in there, the likes of Ndidi and Soumaré. I know they massively missed Tielemans, but I can see why he's gone with Kante and Jorginho there, and they were both outstanding. I mean, can't really fault them at all. Let's just hope that Jorginho's he went off about sort of 10, 15 minutes to go. I'm not sure that it was a hamstring or cramp or whatever, but hopefully that's not too serious. We don't want to lose him as well, with Kovacic still out and Saúl nowhere. We need to make sure that he's still fit. But I mean, Georgia's start, by the way, we could have been 1-0 up inside the first 5 minutes. A fantastic ball over the top from Jorginho. And I'm not really quite sure what Chilwell was doing, mate, because he's been in really good goal scoring form. Are you surprised that he's gone for power rather than placement there?
Yeah, but when you're at close range, I think the way the ball was kind of propped up, I think he just had to leather it, get his head over it. I think it's one of those, isn't it? He probably should score, but I'm not surprised at the action. I don't think you should side foot it from there. I think he has tried to follow through with a kind of half volley, but it's one of those things. But yeah, you could, again, in hindsight, you could probably look back at that moment and, if the result went the other way, you'd say what an opportunity missed. But yeah, it was an electric start from Chelsea. I mean, saw some of the stats of possession in the first 15 minutes. It was frightening, really. The press was immense. The way everyone just was so relaxed on the ball. I mean, Thiago Silva, leading from the front, just had so much time on the ball, looked so relaxed, and everyone was just getting nice touches in and around the box early doors. So it was just, when you set that marker, you could almost feel the goal that did eventually come. They were looking a bit shaky, struggling to even get the ball outside their own box at times, Leicester. That's how good we were on the press. So yeah, good to get those opportunities early on.
But you could definitely tell a goal was coming as well, and it arrived within the first 15 minutes. Leicester have been struggling defending set pieces all season, conceding a lot of goals from them. And it was no surprise to see the ball whipped in by Ben Chilwell and that man, Antonio Rudiger, heading home just inside the near post for a great header. Defending should be a lot better, but he finishes that well. And he scored a lot of goals against Leicester. I remember a couple of seasons ago, he got 2 headers against them as well. He seems to like playing at the King Power. And I think, we just need to give him that contract. He's so important, isn't he?
Yeah, I keep using the word immense, but he's been arguably the best defender in Europe, apart from, maybe, I don't know, maybe some of our others, because I think it was touched on that we've got 6 contenders for the Ballon d'Or, and he should probably be in there as well. He's unlucky not to be. And yeah, the contract's a difficult one, because are we seeing the best of Rudiger now? And then it's difficult to plan for next season. But on form, I mean, he's been faultless. I very rarely use that, because there's always areas of the game that you'd say they could improve on. But he has been faultless this season.
Mate, he really has. And I think particularly in a back three, his presence, the way he brings the ball out, he's got a great range of passing as well, is invaluable. I would slightly worry if, a new manager was to come in the next couple of years, which is very possible, that if they wanted to switch to a back four, etc., Rudiger in a back four is not the one for me, to be honest. I think we have to stick with a back three to see the best of him. And by offering sort of a long-term deal, there's a chance that we may revert to a back four, and that definitely wouldn't suit him. So there's a few question marks, but we need to be doing everything we can to try and keep him, at least whilst Thomas Tuchel is still here. But George, a quick word on the second goal as well. I mean, not expecting Angola Kante to pop up with a finish like that. I think Reese James lays the ball off to him, and then Kante uses Johnny Evans and just bends it nicely round him and into the goal past Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, that's the kind of a finish you'd expect from one of those attacking players.
Yeah, and Thomas Tuchel's reaction just summed it all up. I think he was even surprised that he's even tried to attempt to go for goal, let alone it get past Kasper Schmeichel from distance. But he's very good at getting in, being direct and turning into those spaces and just going for it. But you just never expect a shot, and it just opened up really nicely. No one pressing him, no one trying to close the space, and he just thought, why not? And I think we need to encourage that more. I think that's one of my criticisms. Chelsea don't shoot enough outside the box when it's on. Trying to play the perfect pass for the perfect goal. And that's a classic example of, if it's on, it doesn't matter who you are, go for it. And you never know. And if you, get your head over the ball and get it on target, you've got every chance. And, what a goal, by the way. And we needed that, because at that time we really were dominant on top of the game. But we've seen it before where we've dominated and not killed off teams, very much like, the game before the international break, and it cost us. So we've put that right today, and fantastic goal from Kante.
What I love about Kante is whenever he scores, he just doesn't look like he knows what to do. I think it's quite unnatural for him to sort of be in those goal scoring positions. You don't normally associate that with him, and he often looks a little bit out of place when he finds himself further up the pitch. But he's popped up with a great goal there, and certainly one of his best performances of the season, I think. He's been struggling with form and injury, etc., and a really welcome return to form from him. But George, rest of that first half, pretty straightforward. Leicester had a goal obviously chalked out for offside. Chalobah stepping up nicely to play Lookman offside. But other than that, they offered literally pretty much nothing in that first half. Are you surprised at how little Mendy had to do in the first half?
Not so much surprised, because we've only conceded, I think the fact was we've only conceded 1 in open play away from home all season. That was, I can't remember who that was, but don't know who it was actually.
Well, we conceded to Liverpool from a penalty, but I can't remember the other goal we conceded on the road.
So maybe that is the only goal on the road.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but no, I'm not surprised because of the way that we defend, but I was expecting a little more of an even match, but we made them look poor. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, they tried to play out from the back. Our pressing again was totally on point. Everyone working together, and they did struggle. I mean, I saw Evans a couple of times struggling for an option, and he just had to boot it either long or out for a throw. And we just kept it nice and high. And when you've got players of pace like James, who's got that physical presence, and Chilwell one side, and then you've got the experience of Silva down the middle, and such a stature in Mendy and goal, I wasn't surprised at all, actually. But I was expecting a response in the second half from Leicester, because it couldn't have got any worse from at that point.
No, it's a very comfortable first half. And I think me and you both agree that it's probably one of our best first half performances under Thomas Tuchel, particularly away from home as well, in what is, as we've touched on, supposedly meant to be a difficult game. But in reality, it really wasn't. It was really rather straightforward, which, again, not really to be expected. But obviously, second half, as you mentioned, George, Leicester come out, they changed it up. Barnes and Lookman came off, who just couldn't get a look in at all in that first half, obviously replaced by Kelechi Iheanacho and James Maddison. And sort of that first 10 or 15 minutes or so in that second half, George, Leicester did have a few opportunities, and the switch up definitely seemed to help them.
Yeah, credit to Brendan Rodgers. I think that shows his experience. He brought on 2 players that definitely made an impact. Maddison and Iheanacho, when they came on, definitely 100% changed the game. And I think their best spell was in that from that 45th minute to about the 60th, where they really did pose a threat. Created that opportunity when Maddison crossed the ball in for Vardy, who you'd probably expect Vardy to at least hit the target from that position of the quality that he possesses, but he's put it over. And they had a couple of shots from distance as well, which Mendy were, I would say, comfortable saves because they're from distance, but he's still got to watch it, still got to put it over. And you're thinking, if Leicester could get one, it's a totally different game. But then, then the rest is history. I mean, we killed it off with a third goal, and after that, it could have got even worse, couldn't it? And even better for us. And they just gave up pretty much. Yeah,
that third goal saw them off. They were having a little bit of a flourish, and then the third goal sees them off. The 2 substitutes combining, Hakim Ziyech coming on for his 50th Chelsea appearance, and Christian Pulisic getting some much-needed minutes on his road back to fitness. I mean, Ziyech does really well down that right-hand side and cuts it back, and Pulisic, with that kind of predator instinct, is there just to knock it in at the near post. I think that's really, how important do you think that is for both those guys' confidence, George?
Yeah, and again, it shows the credit to Thomas Tuchel to make the substitutions at the right time in the right positions. I thought the players that came off, it was the right thing. I think Mount had a pretty quiet game today. I wouldn't say disappointing, but he wasn't at his best. But Hakim Ziyech came on, played some really nice balls across the box with his left foot from the right-hand side, which I like to see left-footed players on a right-hand side. I think it works better. And Pulisic, I just love Christian Pulisic. I think he's very Hazard-like. Could have easily had a couple of goals today. Just always seems to be in and around the right position, even if he doesn't put it away. And immediate impact, confidence. And I just hope he gets back to a kind of full fitness and manages to maintain that. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, is that we manage his minutes, get him back to full fitness, and then just hopefully that he can stay fit. Because I think he is one of our best attacking players, and he's one that I think can link up with Lukaku really well. I think that's, something that a lot of Chelsea fans are really excited to see when obviously they're both backing in the squad, is, a fully fit Christian Pulisic and Lukaku in the same side. Because I think that link-up could be pretty damaging. But as you said, George, it could have easily been 5 or 6-0. I think we have 3 goals ruled out for marginal offsides. Callum, Hudson, Odoi, Reese James, and another one from Christian Pulisic. So, I mean, it could have been far more convincing. But how impressive is it that we've managed to put in a performance like this, and we've got £150 million of attacking players in Lukaku and Timo Werner not even in the squad? just shows the strength of our squad. And I think we're very underestimated as a team. I think a lot of people probably respect us, but look around and think, because City and Liverpool light up the Premier League with all their, the quality of goals they score and everything else. I think we're a bit under the radar, but that's the position we'd probably prefer to be in, not in the spotlight. Getting on with our job quietly. We're definitely the most consistent team in the Premier League for sure. Definitely got the best defence in the league. And like you said, mate, when we're scoring 3-0 and could have been 4 or 5 away from home against a side that, we lost the FA Cup final to last year. Very, very good team, well-drilled team. Winning that game in the way that we did without our star striker, our only recognised number 9, it can only be a positive. And it's a real statement of intent to be 6 points clear, to get that win first before any other games kick off. I mean, regardless of whether you think City are going to beat Everton, which they probably should do, it's still a statement of intent, and we can't be happier as Chelsea fans at the moment with the way everything's going. It's just, we've said numerous times on the channel that this is probably the best squad we've had. Everyone seems to know their position, their job, and we've just got like for like quality that can just come in and interchange. And I'm actually a little bit concerned when Lukaku does come back and how that disrupts the rhythm up front, because I do think the flow is a lot nicer when he's not in the team. I know that's incredibly harsh, but I
think it's because we're just more used to it, aren't we? We're not used to playing with an actual number 9 up there. And I think, once we get him integrated in and play to his strengths, then that's going to be a massive plus for us. But I do get what you're saying, is in the fact that we haven't seen the best of Lukaku. We're not playing to his strengths, etc. So it's naturally going to look better when we're used to not playing with an out-and-out 9 at the top end of the pitch.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. I mean, we've brought him in, and he has done well considering the games he's played. And we did have a very fortuitous run of games without him in the side. Yeah. So we probably should be beating those sides with or without Lukaku anyway. This is probably our first big game without him. And yeah, we've done it. And I think, like you said, mate, it's probably just that comfortable aspect where we're not used to having a number 9, which we haven't had since, well, when have we had a number 9? Probably proper number 9.
Last one, Diego Costa.
Yeah, so it's been a long time, and we just need to get used to not slowing the game down and being so direct in the sense that we have to get the ball into Lukaku all the time and just work in and around him. But I mean, it's only a positive. It can only be a positive that we're playing this well without him, and when he comes back in, I expect him to get the goals even more so.
Yeah, definitely. I think he'll be hungry to get back into the side. And I don't know if you saw Pochettino's comments the other day about Chelsea being a defensive side. I just like to, obviously he's not watching, but just like to let him know that, that's now three goals that we scored, 3 or more goals against Palace, Leicester, Southampton, Newcastle. There's a few more that I can't actually remember. But yeah, the point is that, Poch coming out and saying we're a defensive side is interesting. He should probably concentrate on what he's doing at PSG and try and sort that out. But yeah, very interesting to say that with Chelsea are a defensive side. So yeah, Poch, if you're watching, that one's for you, mate. George, moving on. Let's get into, how important a win is that for the team? Because, you're looking at, as we mentioned, going into a tough run of fixtures now. Really important first game back after the international break to get those 3 points on the board, particularly given the fact that we dropped points against Burnley despite playing really well. You don't want to drop points in back-to-back games, considering this title race is going to be very, very close.
There's nothing worse going international break on the back of a poor performance and a poor result, and that's exactly what we had. Maybe a bit harsh. I think the performance was still there. We were just unlucky. Yeah. Didn't put the ball in the net, but you want to put it right the next day, and unfortunately we couldn't. We had to have 2 weeks away. He's had players coming back at numerous days back from the international break, but that's what I mean by that statement of intent. Difficult game. I mean, I predicted a draw. Wasn't expecting that type of performance at all. I thought it'd be quite cagey. Some people a bit rusty, considering the jet lag or whatever they've been travelling after coming back. But we've just hit the ground running again, and to just brush off a side that basically made, tore Manchester United, who have got probably bigger individuals than we've got in terms of personnel, apart. And then we've just basically torn them apart and given them a message that we are the best. Well, we're the champions of Europe, and we played like it today. And those early kickoffs can work against you. But my
Yeah.
God, this weekend they've certainly worked for us. You know, it's big pressure on the rest of the sides now, like Liverpool, Manchester City, to get the results that they need.
I mean, I don't want to sort of, speak too early and get a bit ahead of myself, but this has got strong sort of Antonio Conte vibes from that title-winning season.
Yeah.
3 at the back, we're picking up great results. We don't look like losing. We're letting in like hardly any goals whatsoever. Mate, we've got more clean sheets than the laundrette. We're absolutely smashing it at the back. And it doesn't seem to matter who even comes into play. You saw today that obviously Chalobah stepped in. You've got players like Aspilicueta on the bench, Christensen on the bench. He's one of the best defenders in Europe. And it doesn't make a difference who plays. Even like when players like Malang Sarr come into the back line, we're still keeping clean sheets. And that's testament to Thomas Tuchel's quality of coaching. And I think that's the massive difference you see between the sides like Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City. Got world-class coaching compared to Manchester United, who have got very good squad and players, piss poor coaching team. That's the massive difference. And obviously, under Frank, we did have the quality of players, but I think, not to be disrespectful to him, he didn't have the quality of coaching, and that's to be expected, someone so young. So I think we're now seeing a big difference in how important having a top level of coaching is. But yeah, I mean, Thomas Tuchel will have to be absolutely delighted with that. I mean, couldn't ask any more of the players. And George, we're going to move into the player ratings now. So I'm just going to share my screen, and then we will we'll go run through some ratings. So yeah, let's do it, mate. Let's start with obviously Mendy in goal. I mean, what do you think of his performance? Obviously, 10 will be obviously highest, and obviously 1 being absolutely terrible. I mean, what did you make of his performance? I mean, hardly anything to do in the first half, but then when called upon in the second half, made a few good saves and didn't really look like putting a foot wrong all afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I hate to give players 10 because there's always something to improve on.
Yeah.
But in terms of a goalkeeping performance, he hasn't let one in. He's made some good saves when he is called upon. So I'd say 9. I'd give him a 9. I think quality.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard when you're doing ratings for a goalkeeper that's not really had much to do, and then it's kind of made routine saves that he probably should have done anyway. But I mean, yeah, a pretty quiet afternoon, but fairly routine, and done exactly what he was meant to do. When called upon, he delivered the goods. And I think, mate, me and you are both wrong. I think we're going to have a slight slice of humble pie on this one. We were both a little bit unsure about Eduard Mendy, but I mean, just a quick word on him. How impressed have you been with him since he kind of arrived at the club?
Well, mate, on the commentary they said, and I didn't realise this, that seven years ago he didn't even have a club.
No, he was unemployed.
And now, I mean, now he's just one of the best goalkeepers in Europe, and I think we've got to give credit to Petr Cech, who's probably sourced him, and being as good as he was, it's always difficult to kind of go take over those gloves. Not that he took over him directly, but we've had so many great goalkeepers in the past, and even players like Thibaut Courtois, who had some immense years at Chelsea. Mendy, I mean, the size of the bloke, seems like a very down-to-earth bloke as well, and he just hasn't put a foot wrong, has he? I mean, it's great.
I mean, and we've been very blessed as well with goalkeepers in the past, the likes of Kudicini, Courtois, Cech, and this seems to be another one off that production line. I mean, credit goes to Petr Cech for sourcing this one, as you said, and to think we only paid £22 million for him. I'm not saying £22 million is a lot of money, but in footballing terms, it's an absolute pittance and it's an absolute steal, and I'm really surprised that no one else has kind of picked up on that, but obviously all to our gain. And Mendy just he just doesn't look like conceding the goal at all. He's such a physical presence there. He commands his area, collects crosses like nothing. And he's a really good, shot stopper as well. I know it sounds stupid to say goalkeepers are good shot stoppers because that's what they're meant to do. But he's good at that part of the game as well, and his distribution's not half bad either. But yeah, I think, mate, I'm with you. I reckon for Mendy, I mean, nine's a bit high just based on the fact he didn't really have much to do. Yeah, I'll probably go. Let's take it down 1. We'll go Eduard Mendy with an 8 in that one. I think he's done exactly what he's meant to do, and from a top level goalkeeper, and it's exactly what you want. But moving on to the defence now, George. Trevor Chalobah, perhaps slightly unexpected to start, but I mean, I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was really, really good. You know, defended well, coped with Vardy's pace, and you know, didn't commit too many fouls, etc. A very solid afternoon for him, and he really looks at home on a big stage, doesn't he?
Yeah, and again, that's credit to Thomas Tuchel. He obviously trusts him. He said that the reason why he started is, you know, because he's been with the team all week and he's had a chance to just see him a little bit more. But you know, I think alongside someone like Thiago Silva, you can almost go out and express yourself a little bit because you know you've got that security blanket behind you. And there's no doubt that Silva and the more experienced players like Cesar Azpilicueta had an influence on him. And I just thought he was, I thought he was good today. Yeah, he did. Again, like the Mendy situation, it's difficult to really. We weren't really up against it at any particular point, so he didn't have a lot to do other than carry the ball out of the back five. But no, I mean a clean sheet, and that as a defensive unit, that's your first priority, isn't it? A clean sheet, so you can't argue with that. And he does look very mature for his age. So for me, I'd give him a 7. I think there were some points of his game maybe that touches, or he did get out muscled at times, but yeah, no,
I have to agree, mate. I thought he was brilliant when required, but again, kind of not outstanding, just doing what needed to do. And the best compliment you can play him is he didn't look out of place at all. And I think that's again credit to Thomas Tuchel, the coaching staff, etc. And obviously credit to Chalobah as well. So yeah, I think a 7. I think a 7 is pretty fair on that one. So we'll just pop that in 7 for Trevor Chalobah. I mean, George, I thought moving on to Thiago Silva. No, I know Rudiger scored and had a great game, but I mean, this guy was unreal. I mean, I think you just forget how good he is as a defender. You know, think all that travelling in the international break with Brazil, he didn't actually even play for Brazil, which makes him getting called up a little bit frustrating. But you know, I think they got back Thursday night or something, and to just slot straight into the middle of that back three and put in a performance like today, he was out. He was honestly, I think he was he was named man of the match, and he's definitely, obviously, probably my man of the match as well. I mean, some of his passes in the second half as well, particularly ones out to Callum, Hudson, Odoi, I think another one out to Ben Chilwell. I mean, the guy's just defying his age, isn't he? 37 years of age. I mean, George, just a bit on Thiago Silva today.
Mate, he is just a joke, isn't he? He's so good that he can have 4 or 5 players around him and still just seem like he's on his own out there and just have time to. He's so relaxed, so assured of what he needs to do, always 2 or 3 steps ahead of anyone else on the pitch. A faultless performance. He's getting a 10 for me for this reason. Just thought didn't put a foot wrong. It's, you know, the long range of passing as well is just impeccable. I mean, I have to say, I hold my hands up, and I didn't really rate him as a footballer when he wasn't at Chelsea. I thought at PSG he was a bit. Maybe that's down to the way PSG play, but I thought he got caught out a lot. Same with Brazil. They always say never trust a Brazilian defender, and I know there have been some greats. I know, you know, Cafu, Roberto Carlos, but they tend to be quite erratic. But he was just a joke today. I mean, he's playing against Jamie Vardy. I mean, Jamie Vardy is one of the best lethal strikers in the Premier League and has been for the last 5 years, and made him look like a boy. I can't praise him enough. 10 for me, absolute 10.
Yeah, I mean, he was an absolute joke. He really was, and I think we're so lucky to have signed him on a free transfer as well. And to think that, as we said, at 37 years of age, he's still putting in this top level of performance, I think is absolutely crucial. That if he wants to sign for another year, we offer that contract and we keep him around for another season, because that experience and that level of performance in the big games is absolutely crucial. I mean, yeah, I think all that was missing from Thiago Silva's performance today was a goal. So I think for that reason, for not scoring, I think that's to take it down slightly. I have to give him a 9.5 on that one.
You're giving you're taking off a 5 for a centre half not scoring. Criminal.
Yeah.
No, go on. That's fine. That's fine.
We'll give him a 9.5.
9.5. That's fine.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I'll give him a 9.5. But George, moving on to Antonio Rudiger. I mean, obviously his future is kind of up for discussion. Still not signed a new contract. He's no doubtedly been speaking with clubs, or his agent certainly has, with a possibility of signing a pre-contract agreement in January. I mean, that put aside, how good was he again today?
Well, with all the noise that's coming out everywhere else, it doesn't appear to be affecting him whatsoever, because he's, again, puts his heart on the line, wears the badge with honour, and he goes out there and just gives it 110%. And again, his bursts forward, his range of passing, his ability to just close the space, immense in the air, as we saw from the goal, but also from the back. I think for me, he has to rate the same as Thiago Silva, because I don't think he put a foot wrong either. I think he actually helped Chilwell quite a lot today. I think Chilwell didn't have his best game at left back, but yeah, he was, again, just he's been 8, 9s and 10s all season.
Yeah, he's been so good. It's quite remarkable, really, considering under Lampard, at the start of this year, he was frozen out, wasn't even playing at all.
No.
And I think obviously Thomas Tuchel coming in, and then the switch to the 3 at the back has just breathed a new life into him. And as we were saying earlier, Rudiger in a back 4, I'm not so sure about, but in a back 3, there's not many better than him at the moment. And I'd have to agree, mate. We can't mark him less than Thiago Silva, so that's going in at 9.5 for Antonio. George, moving on to the wing backs, arguably probably been some of our most consistent and best performers this season. Let's start with Reese James. I thought another fantastic performance. Obviously, unlucky not to get on the score sheet with a goal ruled out for a marginal offside in the build-up. Obviously, got the assist for Angola Kante's goal, but he was just a threat up and down that right-hand side all afternoon.
You forget how physical he is as well. I mean, the fact that he literally just put Solanke flat on his arse.
Sat him down.
and that guy is a beast. So make no mistake that for how young he is an absolute animal, isn't he? I mean, and people maybe think that, he's just about physicality and getting up and down, but he's got such great feet, great awareness. I mean, he's assisted another goal. So good going forward this season. And I know a lot of people say, well, his drawback maybe is his defensive work. He sometimes overcommits on that right hand side, doesn't stop the crosses coming in, maybe not that great in the air, but again, made a Leicester side look very, very average, when he had a lot to come up against.
I think I don't know about you, but I think this season his defensive side of the game has improved quite a bit. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I do. I certainly do. I know he got sent off against Liverpool, but that first half that he played, he had to soak up a hell of a lot of pressure, and again, did make them look quite average. I know they did have a lot of chances, but he's definitely brushed up on it. He's not as rash anymore. But again, I thought he was very, very good today. I thought better than Chilwell. Maybe not as good as Thiago Silva and Rudiger. No. So I'd probably say 8.5. Maybe
mate. I was going to say an 8 out of 10 for James. I thought he'd done really well, but not quite as good as Thiago Silva and Rudiger. So, but again, another outstanding performance. I do think now he is the best right back in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and I'll probably say he, on current form, he's probably England's number 1 as well at the moment. I think he's ahead of Trent currently. I'm not saying he's a better footballer than Trent necessarily, but on current form for me, he's ahead of Trent. So
I think. Do you know what? I actually think he's not a better delivery of a football than Alexander-Arnold. He's not as quick, but I think he's a better all-round footballer. I do.
100%. I would agree, mate. He scores a lot more goals than Trent does. Admittedly, that probably helps with him playing as a wing back rather than a traditional right back. But
Trent's dreadful defensively, I think.
Trent not great defensively. He's still very good going forward. He's got a great free kick, etc. But yeah, I think James at the moment is ahead of him. But George, moving on to the other side, Ben Chilwell, obviously the assist for Rudiger's goal from the corner. I mean, obviously missed. Yeah, missed that chance early on. I mean, yeah. What do you feel about his performance today? Not his best, but was solid enough and forced a good save from Kasper Schmeichel in that second half.
Yeah, can't be too critical because his I'm not sure in a 5, but his again as a defensive player, his priority is keeping a clean sheet, which we've done. So and they didn't trouble us too much on that side. I think where the criticism comes is perhaps not doing enough in the areas where we had the overload, where he's made the wrong decision. He's obviously missed that really obvious chance, which could have cost us if the game didn't go to plan. So I haven't got a lot to say. It was an average performance. I'd probably say 6 or 7 for Ben. I'd probably say more towards 7. I'd say, because I don't think it was awful.
No, I don't think he was awful, but he should be scoring that opportunity, and perhaps not at his absolute best. But I think a 6.5. He did get an assist for the goal. I mean, is a 6.5 a bit harsh? No, I'm going to go with it. Chile with a 6.5, but I mean, still very good on the day, really, when called upon. But yeah, not quite as good as Reese James, and perhaps not as much of a threat, and should have really scored. Yeah. So yeah, a 6.5 for Chile. But George, moving on to N'Golo Kante, as we said at the top of the video, he has struggled for form this season, struggled for fitness as well. This looked like back to the Kante of old, and he popped up with a great goal as well. How impressed were you with him this afternoon?
Yeah. As soon as we started criticising him on the channel, curse of the comments.
Yeah, I seem to remember you saying, mate, on a couple of videos ago that you think this was the beginning of the end for Kante.
Yeah. Looks a bit of a shitty Daily Mail backstory, doesn't it now? But
yeah.
I don't know. All I'm saying is I think we need to prepare that we can't rely on someone who's been so immense for so long, and we need to start planning ahead. And that's more like, let's try and see if we can bring in Declan Rice to fill the role, because he can't go on forever. But from that performance, it looked like, as you said, the Kante of old, almost like the Kante at Leicester. And again, bursting forward, always making the right decisions. Even if he can't get the ball, he makes it difficult for the opposing team to get it away. He's always getting a foot in. Obviously, a cracking goal as well. Probably his best goal in a Chelsea shirt, you'd say. So for me, mate, he has to get a 9 for me. I thought it was incredible.
Mate, I thought it was phenomenal today. His best performance of the season. I mean, topped off with a great goal. It was everywhere, interceptions in crucial areas. Great tackling as always, and his passing was pretty good today as well. And he obviously popped up with a great goal. So yeah, N'Golo getting a strong 9 there. But obviously on to the skipper for the day, Jorginho. I thought, obviously, apart from going off with what we hope is not a hamstring injury, hopefully just cramp, I mean, he was pretty good today. I mean, I think you notice Jorginho is one of those where if you don't really notice him on the pitch that much, it means that he's had a good game. I mean, what did you make of him?
Yeah, you summed that up perfectly. He's one of those, like you said, that it's almost if he's highlighted for a reason, it's usually for a negative one. And if he goes quiet, he's just doing his business as he should be. Recycling the ball, through the transitions, trying to neat it up. Again, some nice passing. I mean, he was the one who created the long pass early on for Chilwell's chance. And he's quality, mate. I don't think anyone had a poor game today. No, I think the only person who probably underperformed is someone we'll come on to in a minute. But I thought you can't rate anyone less. I think that I'm still looking at that Chile one, thinking 6.5 is a bit harsh, but I think he's at least a 7 or an 8 for Jorginho. It has to be.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really good today, mate. I can't, not really much more to add from what you've said. And I think an 8 is probably, he wasn't quite as good as Kante, but he definitely wasn't like more than one less than him. So that's an 8 for Jorginho, the skipper of the day. And I think there's no doubt in his quality. Now, I know there were sections of Chelsea fans that didn't really rate him and weren't sure about him. But I think he's fully won over the fan base now. And he's a really important part of our side. So yeah, another very good performance from him. George, great to see Mason Mount in the side. Obviously kind of reasonably well rested after not joining up with the England squad. He's had some dental surgery, some wisdom teeth out. If we're going to be saying performance levels of anyone wasn't great today, we have to say from Mount, he probably wasn't at his best, was he? He looks a little bit off the pace.
Yeah, that's fair. And he knows that. And but again, he's similar to Jorginho, isn't he? It's almost, if you took Mount out that starting 11, I wonder how the performance would have been as a collective, because he does do so much off the ball that you don't realise. But because we rate him so highly, we expect more of him every game. So it's a little bit harsh because we always expect him. He's got to be the one who gets the goals. He's got to be the ones from press to the front. He's the one that's got to get everything moving. And it was a quieter game today. But again, he didn't play awful. Just really a bit of a level playing field. A bit, I don't know, kind of plateaued, and he just stayed at a level that was acceptable. But, I think it's got to be the same as probably less than I'd probably say 6.
Yeah,
I think.
mate, that's exactly what I was going to say. A 6 out of 10. I mean, not
It's
that
harsh,
he was.
but, yeah.
It is a bit harsh, but let's be honest, he wasn't at his best today, and compared to everyone else, he probably was our worst performer.
Yeah,
like I mean, we're not being critical of him, of someone that's been so important to our side and put in such great levels of performance. You know, the fact that perhaps even like last season and certainly under Lampard, if Mount didn't play well, generally we didn't play well and we struggled to win games. But, you know, it just goes to show that in a big game like this, Mount not at his best at all, and we don't really have any problems whatsoever. So I think that's a really positive step forward for the side to not be so reliant on Mason Mount like we have been in the past. But yeah, I agree, mate. A definite 6 out of 10 for Mount. Not his best day today, but obviously coming back to full fitness and just getting his match sharpness back, so kind of to be expected. And I'm sure he'll be back to his best in a Chelsea shirt very soon. But George, to the other side, Callum Hudson-Odoi, obviously a bit criticising over the international break for turning down a call up to the under-21s to focus on his club form. And, you know, I don't blame him for it at all. It looks like that extra work he's been doing on the training pitch with Thomas Tuchel is really paying off. And I thought he had another good game today.
Yeah, he looked very bright from wide areas, you know, made it difficult for the fullback. I think my only criticism would probably be that that finish. You know, certainly with the one where he cut inside. And it was very close. I mean, don't get me wrong, but you just want that player. I mean, if Hazard does that, he scores. And Hudson-Odoi's finished product isn't still quite there, but everything else seems to be coming together. His work rate, his ability to take on players, he's not afraid to do that now.
Nice.
And you know, he did have a goal chalked off, so he's again in the right place. So I'm not going to be too critical. He's looking bright, and 7.5. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to suggest probably a 7 for him. But I mean, it just goes to show, George, doesn't it, that, you know, with him putting in that extra work and actually playing on the left wing where his natural position is, you can see how much ability he's got. I think we forget, still only 21 years of age. So much potential, so much to offer. And it's great that he seems to have Tuchel's trust and has had a consistent run of games in the first team. And, you know, if people's finishing had been a bit better, particularly in that Burnley match, you'd probably have 2 or 3 more assists to his name. And then you'd be talking about him perhaps slightly differently. But yeah, I mean, another really positive performance for Callum, and deserves to be in the side or on form at the moment. And yeah, I agree with you. So one thing he probably needs to polish up on is that final ball or that end product. But yeah, another promising afternoon for him, and I'd agree, mate. I'd give him a 7. And moving on to kind of the focal point, I guess, the false 9 or the centre forward, Kai Havertz. George, quite a bit of a quietish day for him. I mean, did some good stuff, some good hold up play, some good passes, playing people in. But I mean, nothing vintage, but by no means poor.
Yeah, nothing vintage, but what really impressed me about Kai Havertz today was the attitude, and he went for every ball, and his actual, like you said, his hold up play was probably the best I've seen it in a Chelsea shirt. And again, against, you know, 2 centre backs who are not easy to play against. So they're very physical, like to get in and around your face, nice and tight. And some of the touches he had were you know, bringing others into play was seriously impressive today. So I think the attitude was a lot better today than what it usually is, where he floats around and doesn't really impact the game a lot. But again, I think, you know, he does play there for Germany to a certain extent, but we all know that he's kind of just filling in for Lukaku. So he's just being asked, I think, by Tuchel to do as best a job he can, but he's interchangeable. There's still a question mark over his head. Is he going to reach this potential? A lot of noise out of Germany says he is, but I'm yet to be convinced. He does have some great performances. We know that, but there's just that where I want to see a little bit more. And I think for that reason, I have to probably give him a 7 as well.
Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely no worse than Callum. So yeah, I think a 7. Look, as you said, some nice stuff, but you do kind of worry that where's Havertz going to play once Lukaku's fully fit, because I'm not really sure if he offers enough in either one of those kind of inside 10 positions either side. So he's maybe going to have to slightly reinvent himself, isn't he? Because he's not going to play centre forward, and he doesn't offer what the likes of Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi or Mason Mount offers. He can offer that, but he's not shown it. So he's probably going to have to reinvent himself once Lukaku comes back. But yeah, I think a 6.5 is fair.
Yeah, I think I
Havertz.
said 7, but I can't give him the same rating as Callum. I don't think he was as good as Callum today.
Yeah, I think a 6.5 on that. And George, moving on to the subs, obviously, Ruben Loftus-Cheek only played about just over 10 minutes. Didn't really have much of the ball. I think it's quite hard to give him a rating, so probably an NA on him. And then moving on to the other two, obviously Hakim Ziyech, as I mentioned earlier, his 50th Chelsea appearance. Looked bright, didn't he? Some good balls, and obviously ultimately set up the goal for Christian Pulisic as well. He was pretty bright, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I'm not professional, obviously, but I'm left-footed, and I prefer playing on a right-hand side sometimes because you know what you're going to do. You don't get restricted, and I think Ziyech looks a lot more comfortable on that right-hand side. Just putting the ball in, it's a different angle to play it in. The in-swinger looks a lot more frightening with a left foot from a right-hand side, and he did. And he did. To be fair, he did come on and make the impact, and that's all you can ask from a substitution. Working really nicely with Callum and Christian as well. So I think it's difficult to give substitutes ratings because again, you've only seen them in a very short bout of time. But I mean, he did exactly what you're asked to do as a substitute. As soon as he came on, we scored the killer goal. So that's credit to him.
Yeah, I think he did really well. It is quite hard to give him a rating. I'd probably give him a 7. I thought he was pretty good. And then obviously to round out the player ratings, then George, Christian Pulisic, great that he came through the international break unscathed, and he got a few more minutes this time. I think he got about just under half an hour today, and he looked really sharp when he came on as well. Obviously, got his goal, had one just ruled off for offside as well. And he looks quite sharp, didn't he? And he's got that instinct in and around the box that not many of our other forward players have got.
Yeah, he's just a really intelligent footballer, and he's one that all Chelsea fans are desperate to kind of get back. And we all say, when he does play and he's on, and he's got a little bit of time, he does perform very Hazard-like. He's very good on the ball in the right positions, and we're just desperate to see him sustain an amount of time on the pitch so he can actually perform, because we've some of the performances he has had in the Chelsea shirt. I mean, that game that I remember it well against Frank at Anfield when we did lose that game, I think, in the end, but he had an unbelievable game at Anfield. I can't remember what it was. It was like 4 something or 4-3, whatever it was.
Yeah, 4-3 we lost.
Yeah, but some of those games he just brightens up the pitch. And he's, again, there's like an asterisk over his name. Is he going to be able to be a week in, week out sort of player for us? But I really hope so, because on the back of what we've seen in that half an hour, I mean, if he can get to some sort of, where he can sustain his fitness, I think we've got another great option up front.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you there on that one, mate. I think for me, probably a 7.5 for Pulisic, just because he looks really sharp, got his goal as well. And that, that bodes well. And hopefully against Juventus and obviously against Man United, we can see him getting a few more minutes and possibly maybe even starting one of those games as well. But yeah, that rounds out the player ratings. George, we could enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Fantastic performance. 6 points clear at the top of the table. Yellow kit looking outstanding, isn't it? What do you think of that briefly before we round out?
Yeah, we had a little YouTube episode of our favourite kits, so go and check that if you haven't already done so. But the yellow one wasn't mentioned in that. I think we haven't really given it the chance to. We haven't seen it, but seeing it for the first time, the players wearing it, I think I'm tempted to go out and get it now. It does look very sexy, so I've got to say,
it's looking good, mate. It's looking good. I think we need to be wearing that a few more times. But yeah, mate, might have to add that to the collection. But yeah, guys, that's just obviously our thoughts on the game, our player ratings as well. Another great performance from Chelsea, 6 points clear at the top of the league. Everyone else mind the gap, and we'll go and enjoy the rest of the action. But yeah, make sure you smash a like on this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below about our player ratings, etc. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you click that subscribe button. We're on the road to 200 subscribers now, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate the support, guys. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next video. Up the Chelsea.